Hello, everyone. Good morning. Hope you can hear me. If you can, just give me a thumbs up. Thank you for being here and being part of this Instagram live. I can already see some of our speakers, so I'll just give a minute or so. Let a few more people join in. Again, I'll say Happy International Women's Month. Oluwatoni, good morning. Throughout the month of March, I'm really excited that it's an opportunity to raise awareness when it comes to women, International Women's Month. Exactly 7 days ago, we celebrated International Women's Day. But now we're still celebrating, and I'm so excited that Edike Africa has themed their IWD event around education. So inspire inclusion for women and girls through education. My name is Isabella Adeliji, and I'll be the moderator, the anchor for this IG Live. And I can see that our guests have joined. Join me with clapping emojis in the comment section as we welcome specially our guests. We have an environmentalist. She's the founder of Recycler, and she's currently the general manager at Lastra. So let's have some clapping emojis in the comment section for Bilikis Adebi Abiola. Thank you for all the hearts. And then we also have an education advocate. She is the executive director of Lend a Hand for the Development of Africa. Again, let's share all the love, the clapping emojis, yes, for Bimbo Akinsoya. So we'll go right into it. Hello, I can see some more people joining. Ayela Bola, Anoluwakpo, thank you all for joining. It's going to be interactive, so I'll start the questioning and then I'll give some time later on for you to also ask your questions. But when we think about inspire inclusion, which is one of the themes of this year's International Women's Day, International Women's Month, particularly when it comes to access to quality education, what comes to mind? And I'll start with you first, Bilikis, and then we'll move to you, Bimbo.
Well, I think it's about making sure that everybody has access to quality education, regardless of gender, regardless of background, social status, because I believe that everyone is blessed individually, and just ensuring that our society provides people with enough opportunities as well as motivation. Because I think for me as a person, one of the things that made me strive and become better was seeing people that I could look up to. So having those kinds of people that are reference points that are available really would be important.
Okay. I love how your answer already touches on the importance of having figures, role models, having people we can look up to, people to emulate, to sort of stir that desire to go for more and to be better. So over to you, Bimbo.
I think thank you for having me, and it's such a pleasure to be on the same platform, Billy Case. I've been to the Recyclers company a while ago, and I'm really, really impressed by what you guys do. So yeah, I'd like to start by that. I feel like first we need to understand why education is important. And understanding why education is important now gives the leverage and the opportunities that we want to make it inclusive. And because of my work in slum and marginalized areas, I see that first and foremost, the grassroots communities do not understand why. First, why should we even go to school, right? And then we now have the woke slang, education is a scam. So trying to get a mindset change first is extremely important in making sure that education is inclusive. And when we talk about being inclusive, it's not just gender, it's the social status. Like I said, it's that girl in the slum feeling like she has a right to this too. And it's not just some education down the road, it's quality access to this education. So the inclusiveness has to be holistic when we're thinking about it, right, it has to be all around. It has to be for that girl down the road, for that boy up there. We have to come together to see that everybody has access to the education, and we need to now educate them and inform them on why this is important, right, and how. I say that our goal at Learn the End is to see that more people have access to education so that we can reduce the inequality that is that we can see around where education is concerned, and also bridge the gap that we can see and reduce poverty and illiteracy in our community. Once a child or girl is educated, she's better informed. You are not forcing her to go and take vaccines for a child. She knows that this is what she's supposed to do. She's empowered mentally, not just financially, because a lot of times when it's the Women's Month, we talk about the financial state, and that is extremely important. However, a mental and psychological state is also embodied in this access to education. So I believe that the inclusiveness has to be holistic and has to go from top down or down up, whatever it is, but we have to make sure that everyone has access.
Yeah. I like how you've broadened that definition of inclusion, because yes, we're talking about gender, but we're also looking at social class. We're looking at people living with disabilities. It's access to education for all. And when we look at Women's Month, we're obviously focusing on the girl child and women. I'll piggyback off what you said about being in the same room as Bilikis, or in the same on the same IG live. And Bilikis, you've achieved a lot. And I say that because as a woman who is knowledgeable about politics, we don't see many women like you that have risen through the ranks in public sector, that have done companies or set up companies like, say, Recyclers, like she said, which is very much STEM, the environment. Where do you see the challenge coming when it comes to girls' involvement in non-traditional disciplines like STEM, politics, environment? Where are those challenges? And Bimbo, I'd like you to begin to also think about some of the solutions in addressing these challenges.
Thank you, Bimbo. Bimbo was so kind. Honestly, it's really nice to hear that. Like you said, Isabella, it's I think it's challenging being a woman. My journey, like all of us, started when I was young. So as a young person, my name actually is a very weird name. So people would tease me a lot. They would say, Billy kiss me, Billy kiss the goat. So I would go home and I would cry. And my dad would say, look, don't mind anybody, don't mind them. They're just jealous of you. So every time anybody said anything negative to me, I was just programmed to just not let it affect me. So I think as a young person, I grew to have a very thick skin. So in school, I was, doing well in classes. I still got the same taunts, but my dad had already, taught me and trained me not to let it affect me. I think as women in our culture, we're not encouraged to fail. It's one of the ways that you can be successful is if you fail. You have to be okay with failure. You have to be okay with looking stupid. You have to be okay with looking silly. You have to be okay with people not understanding you. When I first started with Cyclers, my father was saying, I came back to Nigeria. I had an opportunity. I just finished at MIT Sloan. I had an opportunity to go work anywhere in America, anywhere I wanted to go. But I decided to come back to Nigeria to start with Cyclers. And I came with a few people from school to stay in my parents' house because we couldn't afford much. And after I had started with Cyclers and it was okay, my father confided in me and he said, look, he was actually worried because he saw me. I had just finished at MIT Sloan and I was all over the place, carrying plastic all over the place, coming around. And he wanted to actually come and talk to me and say, hey, are you okay? Have you lost your mind? But when he saw that there were other people that came back from school with me to start with Cyclers, he said, you know what, I'm going to just be patient and watch. And so it's like being okay with this. I think everything that is going to be great is going to start small. It starts small with small beginnings. So we have to be okay with that. And as a girl child, as a woman, like I said earlier, we're not being given that room to fail and to be different. And also now, in politics, I'm in public sector. In public sector, you are here to serve. You're not here for yourself. You are here to make other people's lives better. And it's a different environment. It's a very male-led environment. But there are opportunities for women. There are opportunities for women to grow and to thrive. In fact, in public sector, they're always looking for women leaders. But we as women, I don't know, maybe we're scared, or we're not encouraged enough, where we feel comfortable taking those risks, because they're not going to give you a very high position on a platter. You have to prove yourself. And the way you prove yourself is through the very low, positions, low chances. You have to show that, in the tough times, in the low moments, you can deliver. And when people see you and see that, look, this person, no matter what position this person has, they are able to deliver, they're able to consistently be at a high level of achievement, then people will begin to now, rely on you. But I think generally, as a country, as a people, we need to just be okay with women failing. Let's stop, for instance, I'll stop with a last story. We all know about the Beta Edu scandal, where Beta Edu, unfortunately, was involved with some issues with funds. And you will see on some social media platforms where they say they gave a woman a chance, and look at what she did. Let's stop making it about being a woman or man. Let it be about the person, the individual.
Yeah, I like those points that you mentioned, because I think in being more responding to it, you can also bring the education angle, because in school you're not taught that life does come with failure. There's always a punishment for failure rather than an avenue for learning. I have memories of where you don't get something right and you're flogged, and we need to move past that. Then you also mentioned about having that tough skin. People were making fun of you, and I know some people have gone to change their name, some people have taken a middle name, some people just want to maybe phonerize their names. But your dad made sure that you were okay with your identity, and he encouraged you to have that thick skin, which has now proven useful in your work in public sector. And then you also spoke about the need for more women to get involved, and for society to allow them when they are given the chance. Because when men fail, they don't get the same kind of backlash like you gave in that example. So from an education standpoint, Bimbo, what are some things that we can begin to do to provide solutions to these challenges?
Very well said, Bilikis. I think that as I speak and I get into my experience in this sector, I want to see that the platform for women to thrive is the same as the guys. So I grew up in Ebute Meta. I'm sure I've said this 1,000,001 times. And there wasn't so many role models as there were female role models to look up to. But there was something that steered my mind. So I used to watch NTA a lot that year. And people like Auntie Fumi Yonda, Auntie Adesuwa Oyenokwe, when I listened to how they spoke, it stirred something in my heart. Like, I couldn't explain it. I just like how impeccable they spoke and how knowledgeable they were. And for me, it encouraged me to go do debates, go for spelling bee competition. I won the Mr. Biggs competition in GS3. So it's when you're a young girl, right, there are diversities of no's that you will get from a very young age, right? I walk into communities and I want to send a girl child to school, and the father will look at me and say, "You go soon marry." Straight up, "You go soon marry, take the child." I had to start putting my foot down and say, if you can't give me a girl child from this house, I will go somewhere else. Now, I have a track record of close to 10 years. So they're taking me serious now. But then it was fight. It was go. And I would literally leave. Now, those girls are that started in primary school are now in secondary school. So when I step into that community, they're like, oh yeah, come, oh, boy or girl, anyone, right? Basically. So organizations should begin to give more platforms for the girl child to also thrive, right? I did that. It wasn't an easy one for me because I also had donors who said I just want to sponsor a child, but I know that she is disadvantaged. So one of the solutions is to give her a platform, give her a chance, right? And if she fails, fine. We've had guys who ran away, so why should I be feeling somehow if the girl ran away, right? So I'll give her a chance. I would give her the same mentorship. I would provide the same opportunities for her. Basically, even in schools, you see, even teachers do it. They want to say, no, not you. They ask the guys those little things, right? Tickle down, right? And we need to be conscious of these things. It's the girl has to be provided with the same opportunities, right? I go on Netflix and I'm seeing things like now the American football club, the female football club have fought so much that they are on the same pay with their guys, right? These are issues we need to keep talking about them, which is the first thing, basics. Let's keep talking about this disadvantage, right? And I know that they say talk is cheap, but I always say it depends on who is saying it, right? My talk is not cheap, right? I'm sure Biliki's talk is not cheap when it matters, right? So we need to keep talking about it. We need to keep giving girls platform for them to shine, right? In Lendeand at the moment, we have 80% of our female staff, right? Female, right? Give this. Yes, we say, oh, guys have the drive, but have you given a lady an opportunity to show that she also can shine, that she can also add value? Basically, all the things that we see as disadvantage for the girl child is that time of the month. Is biological, it's not her fault, right? So please let her shine, give her the same platform, create opportunities also for women, right? I create opportunities for the staff in Lendean to shine, right? I create opportunities for, when I say debate competition, I encourage the female beneficiaries in Lendean to compete for it. They've not gotten any, but that's fine. I did a lot before I got my Mr. Biggs competition, so that's okay, right? We're not crucifying everyone. It's to try. Is that the girl child will look at herself and say, I tried the UBA competition, and it sparks something in her mind. We cannot let the girl child down because of one mistake, like Bliki said. We need to keep giving platforms. When there are opportunities for endorsement, opportunities for partnership, let's spot this female talent, right? We cannot not give her that platform and expect her out of the blues to perform miracles, right? We give our guys platforms, though. We really give our guys platforms, sports, politics, everything, right? A woman wants to contest for something and then you hear nasty statements like does she control her husband first? Can we just stop these statements, right? They affect the mental and the state of a woman. Let her shine, let her do it, right? And if she fails, fine, we move on. We move. There isn't a big deal there, but we need to also grassroots, whatever route, give women the same platform and opportunities to shine. And I have done that through Lendean, giving the young girls in Lendean an opportunity to shine. The same boy child that deserves to go to school, the girl child too deserves to go to school. She deserves to be a prefect, right? When she comes into the community and she has a badge, it's crazy.
Come in there. So I love how this last point really puts, you hit the nail on the head when it comes to equality, when it comes to inclusion, because you can't say that you're being fair or equitable if girls are being excluded from opportunities to try. First of all, if you don't try, you can't succeed, you can't fail. But why are we not pushing the girl child forward when it comes to competitions, scholarships, and what can organizations do? You've spoken about talk, and I think raising awareness is key, because some people don't realize the gravity of these issues, and that's why I'm glad that International Women's Month provides the avenue for such conversations. Now, I want to build on what you said about how you saw certain people on NTA like Fumi Yonda and how they inspired you, because we're inspiring inclusion. And Bilikis, let's talk about the role of having female role models, having mentors, and having figures that are celebrated and are known for certain things. Because sometimes, again, when we think about women, we know them for not the things that we should know them for. Like, you can say, oh, Beta Edu now. Some people will say, oh, yeah, she's the one that was involved in a scandal. But if you look at her track record, there are other things that we can celebrate her work. The fact that she was young, a woman, and she got to that position, she was doing something right. So how can we begin to push the right narrative when it comes to females, and also speak to the role of mentorship schemes and having role models?
So I think Bimbo said it. She said, we have to just keep talking about it. We have to just keep reminding people that, when there is an unconscious bias, I believe, in the media and in society in general, where, and people don't even realize that they have it. So, and that's one of the most important things, for people to remove that mental block. Because when you see a woman, you automatically judge her more, and if somebody says, oh, I don't do that, I think women are the same, I have children, I have girl children, that's not an excuse, or that is not a justification. As a person, you have to look at yourself objectively and say, am I actually giving women equal, chances? This is something that we have to also say for our media. Is our media, also doing what they're supposed to do? For instance, I went to a historically Black school in the US, and one of the things they were teaching us was how media shows African Americans in a negative light, because media is controlled by, Caucasians. So, for instance, they will say, if it's a Black group, they will say militants, but if it's a white group, they will say revolutionaries. So let's even start looking at, how does media even address women? If a woman does something, what kind of adjectives are they using? Whenever they are even interviewing women, I've stopped looking at some of these, interviews that they do for women, because they will always ask the woman, what do you cook? What's your favorite dress? What is this? What is that? Very fluffy things. Me as a woman, I don't know how to cook. I can't cook. So does that mean I'm not a woman? Is that what is important? Is that what we are supposed to teach our children, that they should go and cook? That is actually not going to help. And as women, as young children, are we teaching our children just to go and look at designer clothes? Okay, when they open to look at female role models, what are the role models they are showing us of women? Is it the women that are wearing all these dresses? Is that what they're supposed to be looking at? Or are they supposed to be looking at girls, like those girls in that school in Ipaja that made a generator out of urine? I did not see a lot of media coverage on those girls, which is very unfortunate. Why are we not looking at those kinds of things? So I think our media is complicit, knowingly or unknowingly. They've basically latched on to their view of women, and that is what they are consistently concentrating on. So the media has to really do something about that bias. I think also, in terms of the question about mentorship, somebody can be your mentor without you even meeting the person or knowing the person. For instance, my own mentor is Beyonce. I love Beyonce because I love her work ethic. I love how she always springs back from failure. I love how she always changes the narrative, how she pushes herself, how she raises the bar every single time. So I think as women, we don't need to, I have a lot of people that send me messages and say, hey, I want to be a mentor, I want to be a mentor, but I can't mentor everyone. But you can look at the people, you can try and learn from them. But you also, as a person, also need to reflect, look at yourself and have an inner reflection and say, okay, what are my talents? What do I want to do as a person? Don't worry about money. Look at what your passion is. When you figure out what your passion is, then try and look for women that are doing things in that area. Follow them. And then also another thing I would say, I guess I'm not answering the question, I'm actually just going further, is saying there is also a value for women for being interns. Let's try and do more internships. How can young girls that are coming up, that want to be mentored, that want to be encouraged, how many of us are going out there and saying, I want to be an intern? I want to learn from you. I want to add value to you. I think that's really going to help us a lot. I'll stop there. Thank you.
I like that last point you made, because that's the intentionality. Because in as much as we're passing the message across to the media, to government, to private sector, to everyone, there's also some responsibility on the girl child to put themselves forward, to say, oh, I can offer value. I might not be able to meet you, but I've been inspired and I want to find a way to contribute in my own little way. So I think it's everybody's hand on deck for us to really inspire this inclusion and begin to see this play out across society. Now, we know that one of the issues when it comes to girls accessing quality education is what you mentioned, Bimbo, about, you know, the cultural nuances around, educating a girl child versus educating a boy child, the economic value. What can we begin to do, and what can we ask from our traditional rulers, our government, people that parents listen to? Because it's the religious leaders, it's the traditional rulers, it's government in some cases, it's also the media. What can we demand of them to ensure that some of these biases are actually dealt with and people's minds are open to the fact that a girl child is not being trained to know how to cook? We've gone past that. Is not being trained to know how to take care of her husband. She's being trained to be able to achieve her full potential and pursue her own dreams, whether they be in STEM or they be in being a housewife, whatever it is. But gone are those days. So the people that are going to take this message to the parents, to the key decision makers, what can we demand of them? Because we have kind of government here, right? So we know that Billy Kiss, in her capacity, you know, with the Lagos state government, can begin to pass some of these messages across.
I think the first thing is to understand is representation. Representation is extremely important in this topic. When Michelle Obama became the first Black female wife of the president, first lady, there was just a spark in the United States. It felt like every girl just knew that, yes, I can do it. They were laid, like I saw grandmas crying, like it was just, there was a flood of emotions. And when she went to schools, you would see that the girls just felt like, yes, this can be achieved. For a lot of unconventional vocation, I think that we need to begin to represent the women there some more, right? The engineers, the aeronautic engineers, the civil engineers, electrical engineers, let's shine the light on them some more. Let's take these women into schools. In London, last year, we started this career day properly, and then we said it was okay to show pictures, but we needed to bring people who will say, this is what I do. It's not the normal conventional thing, but this is what I do, and there is a living here, there is purpose here, there is also fulfillment here. You can also do XYZ, and you can see the mirage of emotions from people saying, hey, maybe I should change from bank. I'm like, banking is fine, but I'm just showing you that now there are a plethora of sectors that you can work in, right? So it's how we represent these women in various sectors. How are we shouting about Biliki's achievement, right? And it also boils down to what she said about the media. How are we properly saying certain things that women do? How are we representing them in the media? It boils down to these little nuances, right? So our representation is important. Now, for a lot of women who are also in several sectors, I beg that we open the door. I beg that we create avenues for other women, right? Yes, I'm one of those that would say, please employ me because of my value and not because I'm a woman. I say that a lot, unapologetically. However, I would also say, please look at it. holistically, right? And when you're giving your employment out and put this consideration. I laugh when I see the inclusive numbers in companies. It's laughable. Please, let's stop it. The board numbers. Do you understand? Are we saying that a woman cannot accommodate this particular position, or we're just biased towards the fact that we think that a man should go there, right? So these are what I want us to look at. If a woman is, regardless of what she's doing somewhere, right, let's shout about it the same way we would talk about it. I like that we came out for Hilda Bassi, right? I loved it, right? Because that's a huge feat. It's okay to say, and she being a woman, they cook, yes, but that was something, right? So I like, let's come out like that for women in various sectors: music, entertainment, politics, banking, insurance. Let them know that their voice matters, right? And when I see women who have accomplished, like I said, please make sure that the door is open. You don't, when you're in such places, let policies that allow women be favorable, right? You don't close the door and say, I've done my bit. Me too, Moji, Yagon, I fought before I
Yes.
got here. No, do you understand? Make sure that you have now leveled the ground for other women to come in. Basically, it wasn't easy for me to go to school at some point. I know my mom struggles, but I would never pass that struggles down to beneficiaries at Lende. And do you understand? We're making it easy. Second, third week of school, we're seeing that fees are paid, right? These are our own way of leveling the ground for women. And I believe that when we put these things together, we're seeing more representation and more empowered and informed women.
Okay. I like that point on representation, because I believe if you took a Bilikis, for example, to that community to go and say, look, go and educate your girl child, and they're saying, why is she not going to marry? And then you say, well, look at what Bilikis has achieved. And maybe some of them might have even come across her work, either in public sector or also when she was at Recycler. So it's important that when we do see women, that these women are visible. So it's also another call to women that when you are excelling, don't run away from the media. Don't say, oh, I don't want any attention. Instead, you want that spotlight so that you can inspire other women and also the decision makers when it comes to investing their money to pay school fees. Just before I take a question from the IG Live, I just want us to touch on accessing quality education, because we know that it's important and education is not cheap. Anywhere across the world, even when it is subsidized, it's still not cheap. Quality education. And you made a point about, how your mom suffered to get the school fees. And there are some parents that are wondering, look, how do I finance, my child's education, my girl child's education when, things are so hard? It might just be better stopping it and maybe using that money for something else. And I think Edike Africa, is doing a great job when it comes to providing school fees finance options and giving you that loan for that period. But I'd like you to speak to it, because I know that school fees is something that, beginning of the year, you're thinking about it, September, you're thinking about it, and everybody wants the best for their child. But how do they go about, getting these funds to provide that quality education?
Is this a me question?
So I'll move to Bilikis,
Okay.
and then I'll take the question here.
I'll say I'm actually a proud user of Edike Africa. I don't know if I can share that. I've been using the service since last year, and it was very seamless. It was very easy. I have 3 girl children, 3 daughters, and it's just even being able to pay the fees on time, making sure that your children have access to all the services in school throughout the school year without issues. Having that Edike, just pay the school fees up front and then you pay instrumentally, was just, for me, it just gave me a lot of comfort, and it's very seamless experience. So as someone that has used it, I can say very, 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 I very much love the service, and I think it's a good one. And it's a good one for people that, like you said, are struggling in these times. We all want our children to have the best education. I would say, first of all, thankfully in this country, we have very good schools in all, different income or, costs. So if it's a matter of having to change the school of your child because of the cost. Don't feel bad, don't feel ashamed. People have done it. There's nothing wrong with it. But once you've done it, just being able to make that payment, and then also I think sometimes, I mean, I've heard of cases. Thankfully, I've not been personally, but of some parents, because of the costs, they might put one child that they feel is more promising in a better school, and they now put the other ones. But I think for children, it's always better for them to be in the same level, because you don't want a situation where in the future your children are becoming a burden to each other. So it's very important as parents, let us give our children the same opportunities, the same exposure, so that they can all be independent and nobody is feeling like, oh, I'm the one that has to take care of my whole family. So I would encourage parents to also just be aware of that.
Thank you, Billy, for sharing that experience with Edike Africa, and also for that last point you made, because sometimes people might want to be unequal in their treatment or in the provision of education for their children. And it might seem like a short-term solution, but it has repercussions in the future. So there's a question here from Shei Flawless. What do you think of encouraging more young girls to participate in all the boys participating, e.g. sports? I know there are strength in numbers, and more numbers might mean better chances. And then I'm just going to check if there's another one here. We have from Tanu Atta, we should also try to limit the gender wars. We didn't have these wars in primary school, but we still had gender divides, which I believe is a state of nature. Boys and girls have common grounds. Okay, that's not a question, it's a contribution, but we are also different as well. Thank you for the contribution. So that's the question we have. And at the end, maybe in about another 10 minutes or less, we will have the CEO of Edike Africa come speak to us. So if you want to find out more about that, school fees, finance options, what the requirements are, how you can access it, then please stay till the very end when we've wrapped up this conversation. But I'd like Bimbo to start with addressing that question about encouraging more girls to get into things like sports, for example. Because I know earlier on you mentioned some biological factors like menstruation, and obviously that affects the girl child sometimes in participating in certain school activities at that period. But how can we still encourage the participation? And also, Billy Keith, when you're addressing the question, I'd like you to speak from the STEM angle, because I was doing my research and I saw that you've even, I think, filed a patent, I believe, yes. And we don't hear about that, like a patent, like you have your own patent and it's in engineering. Like that is like something that is male dominated. When you think IT, you think engineering, you think STEM, it is a guy that you are thinking of, so I'd like you to speak to that. And then the final question will be your final piece of advice to women, to girls, in line with inspiring inclusion. Then I'll bring on the CEO. Thank you to the people who asked the person who asked the question and the person who gave the contribution. So Bimbo, you can start.
Okay, so I want to say very quickly that women should be everywhere, sports, whatever, politics, whatever it is, as long as there is an opportunity there for your talent to be showcased. Please go for it. While I was in secondary school, we had this lady, right? Her uncle or whatever brought her from the village. She wasn't so good academically, but you see that entire sports, just as if we could literally just leave it to her. Like, I'm not even joking. Like, she was I used the word principality there. Everything, like javelin, everything. She was so good. And a part of me sometimes just wants to look for and ask if she decided to do something with this. Basically, I think that as we celebrate what's done in classes, oh, you came first, second, and all those things, I think we should also celebrate when people use their talent for things like this, when they go for competitions, singing competitions, sports and things like that, because it also encourages the girl. She doesn't want to come to class and the teacher say, come out for kakiri lumo. Do you understand? Just jumping up and down. and she reduces her impact in sports to jumping up and down when she's actually doing something. So I think it's important that such statements are discouraged from our teachers, right? And then the girl has an opportunity to shine in sports. I did everything. I ran the competitions, whatever it is, right? Whatever I felt that my talent could accommodate at that point, I did. Where I shined, fine. Where I didn't, we move on, basically. So I think we should all just encourage women. Speaking to very quickly to what you said about a menstrual period and things like that. And it falls back to what I've said before. There are women in these sectors that go through this and are shining. Aishat is one of them. I am sure that she has a menstrual cycle, right? And she still shines. So yes, it's not a barrier. Yes, there are things that can be done. I watched a documentary where I think
Bimba, I have to come in there so that
okay.
because we
But
still
yeah,
need to give some time for the CEO to address us. But yes, that point again goes to representation. We know Aishat, and she's a female and she's excelling in a male-dominated sport like football, soccer. So it's really important that even the teachers, when they do see girls excelling in non-academic things like sports, that they are encouraged and they're not belittled or made to feel like it's not a big deal, because it is a big deal. So very quickly, Bilikis.
So I would say for us to just have more women in STEM, we just need to encourage. I think STEM starts with, for me, it started with math class and science class at a young age. Making, like I think Mingo said it earlier, when people don't do well, they flog them. Just making these concepts, these things easy for people. And letting people know that even the people that are getting everything in the class, it's not easy for them. They are also struggling. As somebody that works in software engineering, I wrote code for 5 years. And like you said, it was a male dominated area, but it really and truly, it didn't matter what your gender was. What mattered was the quality of code that you wrote at the end of the day. So, and it also didn't matter if the code came to you easily or if you spent a long time. So being able to understand that some people, okay, there are some people that are gifted where they open the code, they can write code and the thing will just work. But even if you have to still do it small, it takes you a longer time, but you still get it. It doesn't take away from your achievement. Your code is still good. In fact, I would say it's even better, because by struggling, you are able to learn what you shouldn't do. And the quality of your code is even better for that. So I would say that let us know and realize that STEM is not easy. You will not enter the class and get everything 100. But just try and follow it, understand it. If you don't get it, try and learn. Like one of my teachers would tell me, go on YouTube. There are videos that teach you everything. Follow it online and try and understand it. Once you do, you become better at it. So I would encourage our young women that if you're taking these classes, even if they are hard classes, try not to drop them. Just persevere.
Thank you very much, Bilikis. Hopefully we'll still be able to get maybe your final words before we bring this Edike Africa Instagram live to an end. But it's important that we also hear from the CEO, Babajide Olushesi, CEO of Edike Africa, who will be addressing us. Again, for everyone who has joined, it's all about inspiring inclusion for women and girls through education. And as you know, Edike Africa provides school fees financing options. So just like Biliki shared her experience, you can get that financing and spread your payments within a period. And that way, you're ensuring that your children, boy and girl, get access to quality education. While we're still waiting for the CEO to join the live, we can just get your final words, that piece of advice that you have to women, to girls concerning, inclusion. What's that last thing you want them to take? If there's anything they can remember, that thing that they can hold on to. And hopefully after you've answered, we'll have the CEO join the live. So I'll start with you, Bimbo.
I would like to say that our voices matters and that we should not let anything dim that light. go for it. If we fail, we fail. We fail forward. And if we win together.
I love that point about our voice matters, because there's a saying that says women are to be seen, not heard, and that already removes the agency of the woman and her voice. But you've reinforced that our voice matters, and it's okay to fail, because in failing we're learning and we're getting better. It just feeds back into what Biliki said: when something is hard, like that STEM, but in the end you learn more because you've taken a longer time to assimilate it, you've made mistakes, and you know what not to do. So something trying and failing, you then know this is not what to do, and this is what to do to succeed. So yes, our voices matter, and it's very okay to fail. Over to you, Billy, please.
I would say for us as women, I mean, I love what Bimbo said. I think she said it's beautiful. But my own contribution would be that as women, we shouldn't see being a woman as a hindrance or as a negative. We should actually see it as an advantage. Let all our women know that you being a woman, you being a female in this day and age is an advantage. Everybody's looking for you. Everybody wants you. So even though it may be more challenging, you are important.
Even though it's more challenging, you are important. I love that. It is more challenging being a woman, but it's something to be celebrated. I mean, if all the women decided that we're going to stop giving birth, for example, the whole world comes to an end. We put an end to humanity, right? So it's challenging, some of the things we go through as women, but it's still such a beautiful journey. Our voices matter, we matter, and I think having that education allows us to achieve our full potential as girls and as women. And just as you were finishing what you were saying, Bilikis, I saw that the CEO of Edike Africa has joined the live, so we'll hand over to Babajide Olushesi for his closing remarks.
Thank you, Isabella. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you for being a fantastic host so far, and thank you to Bilikis Abimbo as well for such a great conversation. One of the things that you guys have highlighted that's important and that we need to continue to do is to ventilate the issues, really. And Bilikis can be based on this. I mean, we have these conversations every now and again when we get a chance to talk about some of these things. And what becomes obvious is that in some cases, actually in many cases, there's a lot of oblivion about the issues. Maybe because you're not affected directly, or because for some reason or the other you just are not clear what the issues are. So it's important for women and girls to continue to speak up. And it's also much more important for people who have platforms, platforms like these. I mean, any sort of platform that you have, to continue to advocate for inclusion across the board. I mean, I think that's one of the first things that people said, that look, inclusion is to exclude. I mean, it needs to be a much larger picture than just inclusion for girls and women. There are a lot, as far as education goes. There's a significant exclusion in education in Nigeria. I mean, let me give you some statistics to support that point. I think right now there are about 7.6 million children, I mean girls actually, out of school according to UNICEF. To put that number in perspective, right now I think in the country we have maybe about 250,000 military men. Our armed forces is about 250,000 strong. Policemen will be under 350K. So if we have 7.6 million girls outside of school, I mean, we know what the downlines of some of these issues are. You don't go to school, you don't get education. It significantly reduces, how productive you can be in society, and I mean, it speaks directly to the heart of some of the issues that we have right now. So, thank you again for such a great conversation. I just wanted to highlight a few points that were raised, just so that they are properly rehashed. I mean, points that really spoke to me. Again, like I said earlier, one of the things that first jumped at me was we need to, change the mindsets in general when it comes to gender issues, and the most important way or the most effective way to do that is to talk about the issues, continue to ventilate them, help people understand what the issues are. But beyond that as well, we need to be okay with failure. I mean, that's the point that resonates across, whether you're a man or a woman. I think in our society, we sort of demonize failure. From starting in school when you fail a class or you fail something. I mean, let me give you a personal example. When I was in school, I failed in uni. I failed one course throughout my 4-year period, and till today, I still hold it in my head as something. I mean, it really shouldn't be. I mean, the mindset, sort of permeates every facet of society, from taking a chance on yourself, from just doing things because you want to do them. People are afraid to fail. We must, create the room for people, especially for women, especially because there are a lot more disadvantages for women and for girls. We must create room for them to take a chance and fail if they must. I mean, failure is really the stepping stone to success. You only truly fail when you stop, pursuing those goals or pursuing those aspirations. And yes, of course, I noticed that someone said something along the lines of a single story. I made reference to Dr. Edu. Before she was in public service, or even, for a good part of her public service career, because she was in, I think, Akwa Ibom State as a commissioner or something of the sort. She had a stellar career, stellar records, and one single issue dominates our entire story. I mean, we must be careful not to put people in the box because of a single mistake. We must avoid that danger of that single story. People are not defined by one single thing. Okay, so one more thing that I'll just mention before I move on to the next point on my agenda is we must be deliberate about providing opportunities. I mean, that one we can't run away from. As long as the opportunities exist and we have the power to assign them, we must be deliberate. So, for example, in our organization, we have a quota currently of about 50% split across the genders. Recently, we were hiring interns for some purpose, and it's part of our policy that we must, a woman was represented in that number. So, organizations, people, just generally in life, we must be deliberate about creating opportunities, from internships to job opportunities to speaking opportunities, just chances for people to raise their hands and be seen. We must be deliberate about giving women a chance. And more importantly, women must also stand up. I mean, you can give them opportunity, but if people don't get up and take these opportunities, of course, we'll still end up exactly where we are. So yes, thank you everyone for such a great conversation. I don't know if anybody has anything to say before I quickly talk about Edike, and we can call you a day here. Isabella, I see you nodding.
Well,
I'm not hearing
good. You did the job of rehashing and reiterating some of the important points. So I think we're all good. Thank you very much.
Great, fantastic. So let me talk quickly about Edike, right? So like Biliki said, she's taking the word out of my mouth. The crux of our business is that we provide tuition financing to parents, to guardians, to students. And we do it in a very simple way, right? We require you to provide us some KYC information, right? Helping us to understand who you are. I mean, that you're who you say you are, really. So you give us your name, give us an ID, we verify those things. And we move on to the next phase, which is us really appraising your capacity to pay. So, for example, you come to me and say you want to pay school fees of ₦1 million. I need to ensure that you're able to pay me back. For that purpose, we would ask you for a few things that prove, first, that you're not that the request is genuine, right? So I would ask you, for example, for a school bill, to prove that that money is actually going to school, and then I'll ask you for information that allows me to understand your capacity to repay that facility. Once I have those information with me, I'm able to decide within 24 hours and provide you the funding that you require. Once we decide on the credits, it goes directly to the school, and over a period, depending on what you're comfortable with, you get to pay us back. To enjoy our services, it's pretty simple. You just go to the stores where we have our apps available on the iOS and the Android stores. You can search Edike app on either of those stores, and you'll find us there. Sign up, and you can begin to enjoy seamless school fees financing. Beyond that, we're present in more than one country. So right now we're in 3 countries. We have a Pan-African vision. So we're present in Kenya and South Africa right now, in addition to Nigeria. So if you have people in those markets who may require our services, we're extremely happy to provide that for them. So yeah, that's it. And on social media as well, we're at Edike Africa on all social media. We are available to take your questions, your inquiries, and to engage really on the issues. And beyond providing tuition financing, we understand the core of all of the issues, and we're working with partners to ensure that we're not just addressing one facet of the problem, but we are ventilating the issues like we're doing here today, and providing support even to schools, to ensure that we get quality education in the hands of girls, of boys, of everybody who requires education, and that we can hopefully be a better. Can you hear me? I think my connection went off a bit there.
Now.
Okay, great. So we're at www.edike.africa. From there, you can find everything you need to know about us. You can reach us from there on social media, and that's pretty much it. I don't know if you have any questions for me in particular, but I think I've covered the basis of what I want to speak about.
Okay. We'll just look on the comment section. I can see thumbs up from Edike. I'm not sure there are any questions. I can see some clapping emojis.
By the way, I noticed that when you were introducing me, you said CEO. I actually manage operations here at Edike. We have our CEO is Mr. Akinola,
Oh.
but I manage operations here. But thank you for the introduction on this.
Thank you. So thank you for the head of operations at Edike Africa, Babajide Olushesi. Thanks for telling us all about the value offering and just how seamless and easy it is going to download the app, filling out some forms, and getting the information. And what struck me is that once they provide that information, within 24 hours, you can make a decision and you're able to reach an agreement on the repayment plans. And I think that's so important because already next month is another term. So if you're already
We're here.
You can get an answer very soon. We also have a comment here from Dollars. Thank you very much. I believe if we don't have any more questions or comments, we can just bring this Edike Africa Live to an end. So I'll start by saying a big thank you to the general manager of LASTRA. She's an environmentalist. She's a STEM advocate. She's worked in STEM. She's done a lot of amazing things in the public service, holding different roles in Lagos State. Thank you very much, Bilikis Adebi Abiola. Thank you for your contributions. Let's give us some clapping emojis.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
And also, we have the executive director of Lend a Hand. A big thank you. She's an education advocate. Her passion for ensuring that quality education reaches the grassroots, reaches everybody in need. Mindset change, empowering girls, empowering women, empowering that Nigerian at the grassroots. It came through the passion, the dedication. So thank you very much, Bimbo Akinfeya, for being our guest. And finally, for letting us know about all the great things that happen at Edike Africa, not just in Nigeria, but in South Africa and Kenya. Head of Operations, Babajide Olushesi. Thank you for your contributions. My name is Isabella Adediji, and I've had such an amazing time being the anchor of this Edike Africa Live. It's goodbye from us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.